Yeah, boy!
Today I wanted to do a video about dealing with fear as a mountain biker. So as you can see behind me, or maybe not see because they're that big, these are some of the biggest jumps in the world. We're out in Slovenia at Flat Out Days Festival, and as part of that 7-day festival they have a Fest Series event, and if you're unaware of what that is, it's a huge jump jam with like some of the biggest features anyone will ever see. And this is a brand new jump line, which I'll show you in this video, and you'll see a lot of the features that we're going to be riding. But this video is primarily to help you overcome fear, and I want to share my process for dealing with fear, because as a professional mountain biker, you may look at videos of other professionals online. Why does he make that look so easy? Is he actually fearful? Is he just like crazy and just takes his brain out? But actually, especially on this stuff, I'm as scared as any other person. It's human nature to be scared, but I think it's all a process of how to deal with that fear. So in this video, I want to break down that process so you can progress more on your mountain bike, hit bigger, harder things that you've been looking at, and progress your riding safely. Look at the size of that monster. And that one there. These last two are about 26, 28 meters, and they continue up here. No messing about on these things. They're big. This is a landing for a jump. Up there, maybe you can see the scale of things with the size of that digger. That's like a big, fairly big digger. You can see that from the side there, if the sun's not glaring it too much. I started my mountain biking out racing downhill, then I went to enduro after a few years, and then kind of got a bit like dissatisfied with it. Still do a bit of racing, but now decided to push my career in a way of more free ride mountain biking. I just get so much more satisfaction out of it, and that's where I feel progressing is for me. With that comes a completely different skill set to riding. When you see videos of people doing these jumps or anything that like looks super crazy on video, you might just think they take a brain cell out and they've got like no fear, or they are just blind stupid, which very rarely is the case. Now there's two sides of the coin to this, because obviously you get some people who are super ballsy, will just throw themselves off anything, and then the other side of the coin is people who analyze things, are super confident, they try and visualize things, they work on things before they hit a feature. You find both these camps of people at events like this and riding features like this, but I personally like to do a lot of visualization, looking at a line way more than maybe a lot of people will. Like it's now like 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm the only person up here. Not that everybody else should be up here looking at lines and stuff, but the more and more I'm looking at these jumps, which are brand new to everyone, they're completely unknown, the more comfortable I feel about riding them. So here's one of the first features on the track. Starts up here, and then there's this huge jump from this takeoff here, over the toilet bowl as it's called, into this landing. Now we've had super mixed weather in Slovenia the last few days, so some of these jumps haven't been rideable the past few days, so we've been riding them in the evening. These sessions run from 6 till 9 in the evening, just because that's when there's less chance of wind, and the track has had a good day of sunshine to dry out. It's rained in all sorts, so it's been a bit inconsistent, but the first hits on this was 2 days ago. There was riders hitting this, which was crazy to watch. I already decided I wanted to stand and just watch and observe how the jump was riding, how much speed people needed for the jump, what they were like in the air, what the landing was like, everything. I was weighing a lot of that stuff up. I'm probably one of your less ballsy riders. To build something like this and then to have it pretty much work first time is such a great thing for us riders and the trail builders. I spend a lot of time visualizing a feature before doing it. I'm not really one of those people who will rock up to a feature and just do it, especially something as big as Fest Series jumps. I've never been to a Fest Series event, this is all new to me, but my process is still very similar to riding a gnarly freeride line, a crazy exposed ridge line, anything. The process is also the same. I visualize things first to try and remove as much of the unknown out of the feature as possible. I want to think about how the jump is going to feel when I go off it, how the feature is going to feel, how I'm going to be on my bike, how well connected I am to my bike, so that when I actually come into it, my brain is almost tricked into thinking and feeling that it's already done this feature. It's so scary coming into a thing you've never done before. You've no idea how the lip is going to kick you. You've no idea how it's going to feel in the air, how you're going to land or anything. For me, visualizing things and trying to remove the unknowns is a massive first step. Now I guess there's a step I missed out before this. There's a step in this about bike setup that I should cover, because for riding something like these jumps versus some crazy technical exposed line or something else, your bike needs to be set up in a very specific way. Sure, you can set a bike up so it's like a good all-round bike, but with these jumps, your bike has to be set up a very specific way to jump these jumps. We need harder tyre pressures, harder, stiffer suspension, slower rebound so we don't get booked in funny ways and unexpected ways. When it comes to bike setup, I'm always trying to think about, well, what am I going to be riding? What does my bike need to do? What am I expecting it to do as feedback? I like to be very well connected with my bike. I will look at things like tyre pressure. I will look at basically all the contact points between me and the bike and the floor. So tyre pressure, how hard the tyres need to be to get the traction we need, and think about the rolling resistance. Then the suspension, I think about that. I think about brakes. Are my brakes equal feel on the bar? All these tiny little things, tiny details. How my feet feel on the pedals, how even down to the smallest details, like how my helmet feels on my head, how the chin strap goes around my chin, how my goggles fit in my helmet. And you might think, oh, this is like overthinking things, but it's not. The more of the unknown I can remove, the more I can focus on the feature at hand, which then means the safer my riding is going to be. And I've always had that process. People still call me crazy and all these other people that I ride with. And from the outside, yeah, it can look ridiculous. We try so hard to remove all these unknowns before doing this sort of stuff, because that comes with the profession of mountain biking and doing these sorts of jumps and progressing the sport. It's not as simple as just grabbing your bike and just riding off this stuff. That's the most dangerous thing you could ever do. So now we've covered bike setup, we need to also talk about body setup. You're the man, woman controlling the machine. They both need to be in line with each other. So as much as you look at all the details on the suspension of your bike, the brakes, how your bike is set up, handlebar roll, everything, you need to think about your body. Are you well rested? Are you well hydrated? Are you fueled up? Do you feel focused? Do you have any niggling injuries or pains anywhere? All these little details can add up, and if you ignore them, they can cost you. I will never attempt anything like this or anything that's out of my comfort zone without being 100% prepared for it. And I've always stuck with that rule, and I'm always happy to walk away from features if something doesn't feel right for me. So if I come to these jumps and I don't know, maybe I'm working through these jumps and I actually haven't ridden these yet, and I don't feel 100% about something, I'm more than happy to walk away from a feature, because that's how my process works. And it's very hard to do sometimes, especially if it's something that you really want to do, but maybe there's something inside you that is just telling you no, or you're not feeling it. I never push through that. Sometimes I can work through it, but that's very rare. And if I make my mind about something, then I stick with that decision. I never go back on that decision. But coming into a feature and preparing my body, I want to make sure I'm fully hydrated, well rested, well fed, focused, I'm not drowsy or tired, and I don't have any niggling injuries that are going to affect my performance on the bike. Because if you have like a little niggling injury that maybe makes you pedal in a certain different way or has your foot on the pedal slightly different, and then that causes you to have a bigger problem when you're doing the thing you want to attempt, it's not going to go down well. Make sure your body is fully prepared, just like you would with your bike setup. So now the body's prepared, the bike is set up, we're in the right mindset. With these jumps, my process for riding them will be the same process as riding anything else. Like I showed you before, I will visualize things, I will go and look at features from all different angles. So how I'm going to be going up the takeoff, how I'm going to be landing, what are the other unknowns around the side of the jump that I might need to be aware of, if there's any wind in the air, what the air temperature is like, what the air humidity is like. This doesn't go for all features. I'm only going to be doing that on jumps this big. But if I was riding some crazy exposed line which required 100% focus, I'd be trying to walk down the line first, look at things, see if there's any unknowns I'm not so sure about, any features like rocks or roots on the track that I need to be aware of, and where my braking points are, and where I'm going to have traction and where I'm maybe not going to have traction. All these questions come to mind. I go through this process every single time without fail. I'm hoping today the sun stays out so we get to ride this in the evening session, which I'll be really stoked with. But for me, riding into these jumps, I've walked up and down them a few times now and looked at and watched riders hit the first few jumps, which has been really cool because it's given me a lot of confidence in the jump line and matching my own skill and ability. When it comes to riding these the first time, I will go through another process of riding it. So I will generally do a speed check first with this jump line. I will come in at normal speed. I will get a feel for the terrain, get a feel for the setup of the jump, where my line's going to be, how my tyres are going to feel in the dirt, where I need to carry speed, where I need to be in a tuck position to maintain speed, where I need to brake if I need to, which I don't think you do on this jump line. I think you need to be going as fast as you literally can. I'll do 2 to 3 speed run-ups, and that's mainly to get my eye in and also to get the speed right. Now with these jumps, I've been toying with the idea of following someone into the jump who has already done it. Now there's a caveat with this because it can go two ways. First of all, if somebody has done a feature that you wanted to do and you're following them into it, then you're putting your confidence in that person, which is risky, and it's also a good thing as well. If you are super confident in a person, following them in, and they are confident having you follow them, that's great. You can use them as a speed check. You can use them watching their body position in front of you, and you can almost copy and paste what they're doing. The thing against this is that if they are of different size to you, they have a different riding style to you, different bike setup, they might ride completely different to you, carry speed differently, and just handle the bike differently. If you just try and model them, then you may not have the right speed and the correct recipe for the feature you want to ride. And when you're riding things this big, there isn't really any margin for error. This is, again, goes back to the visualization and trying to remove as many unknowns as possible before we ride any of this stuff. I'm actually undecided yet whether I want to follow somebody into these or not. I think I will follow somebody in as a speed check. I mean, I think I'm going to do this on my own and just go for it once I feel comfortable. One thing I also want to add on this about doing run-ups into features, jumps, I think there's a point at which you do too much of that stuff, too much preparation. The preparation then turns into overthinking, and which can then hinder you. If I'm doing 10 or 20 run-ups into a jump, something isn't right about something else. Whether it's my mindset, my bike setup, something just doesn't feel right. Probably more so my mindset, because all this is literally mental. Most people riding this stuff are very physically capable of riding these features. It's all a mental game, and how those riders handle the fear is what is going to hinder them or progress them forwards. When you roll into a feature, I like to have a hard and fast rule and set that number in your head of how many run-ups you want to do into a jump. If you go over that number, then maybe today is not your day. For me on these, I think it will be 3 run-ups into a jump, and if I'm not feeling it and I can't see myself doing the feature, then maybe I need to go back to the drawing board and think about, am I ready for this? Is my mind in the right place? Am I well rested? And go back to the foundations until I am ready. There is nothing worse than seeing somebody push through that and have an injury or ride something unsafe because they were too impatient and not patient enough to come back to the drawing board and ask themselves those hard questions. If you're trying to progress your riding, you know, you might not be riding jumps this size, or you might be riding something a lot smaller, but for you, if that's something out of your comfort zone, it's all still the same thing. I would class this out of my comfort zone. I'm looking at these now. I'm quite nervous, quite scared, but at the same time, I'm quite confident. I'm quite confident looking at these, and I can visualize myself riding them. In that respect, I'm feeling quite comfortable on this. But some stuff I've ridden, it's been a squeaky bum moment. I'm pretty nervous, pretty scared. And you might feel like that. Like if I'm super nervous coming into a feature or a jump that I've never done, I don't like that feeling. I like to feel super relaxed, in the zone, know exactly how I'm going to feel, what I'm going to do before I do it. And that's going to give me the best chance to jump a feature safely and progress my riding. And the same goes for negative thoughts. The jump's this big, or any feature you've never done, you might have a tendency to gravitate towards thinking, well, What if I don't clear the jump? What if I veer off track and go down there? What if I can't brake in time? All the what ifs. And it's completely rational and normal to think like this, by the way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing at all, but I think it's just good to be aware of where your brain goes. Because if you start to go down that rabbit hole too much and you start to focus on the negatives of something you want to ride, I don't think that's a positive influence. And if that was me, I would catch myself in the moment doing it, back to the drawing board, think about things, think about the positives of like how it's going to feel, how I'm going to clear the jump, how it's going to feel when I land and I do it, rather than the negatives. Yes, it's good to know the negatives and understand like potentially the dangers of things. That's like, again, rational and normal. Catch yourself before you start focusing on them too much and it overwhelms you and confuses you. It's actually really funny, just going back to that point on overthinking things. When you ride something and get confident on something, I don't know if you'll ever felt this before, but there's a thing in sports called the zone, and it's one of these places that we all strive to get to, whether you're an athlete, a racer, any kind of sport. And it's this place in your mind where you can do things literally on autopilot, and you almost forget about everything else that's going on around you. Like, let me know in the comments if you've ever felt that, because it's the most insane feeling. It's euphoric, and it's something that we all strive to get to. The caveat is, the harder you try and get into the zone, the further away you get. The zone is like a place you get to subconsciously through doing the right steps, the hard work, the visualization, all the things I've talked about in this video basically. And it's a natural process and a natural outcome of all your hard work and being in the right space mentally. And if you can get into that space, you can pretty much ride the things that you want to ride while managing fear in a very safe way. But it's not hard, it's not an easy place to get to. And I know for a fact on things like these features, I'm going to be hopefully getting to a point where I'm riding in that autopilot zone. There's going to be some fear, there's going to be some nerves, there's going to be some scary things for sure. But I'm fairly confident after a few runs through these jumps, I'm going to be in this zone on autopilot, and it's almost going to be safer than having to overthink things, second guess myself, and just let my body and muscle memory do its thing. I know how to ride a bike. My body knows how to ride a bike. It knows what it's doing. It knows what it needs to do. It knows where it needs to be in space and time. And I don't have a lot of control. I have full control over this, obviously, but a lot happens behind the scenes subconsciously, which is wild to think. But that's how I perceive it. And I feel that's the best way to manage fear and progress riding forwards, whatever you want to ride. So yeah, there's going to be more videos on the channel about these jumps, this event, this place, Bike Park Coppe. It will be one of the best places to ride bikes in the future, I can almost guarantee that. And let me know in the comments as well, guys, what's your take on fear? What's your take on any of this stuff? Do you have a process, or do you just wing it? Do you go through a set of rules as you're wanting to ride something new? Let me know where you're at, and I'll see you in the next video.